Well, welcome back. It's been a while. We've had the FIBA 2023 World Cup qualifying window done, with the Basketball Champions League is back, but more importantly, the Basketball BCL Trash Talk podcast is back. Igor, what's up, baby? How you doing?
I'm doing fine, but it's been really that long that you got the name of the podcast wrong. The Basketball BCL Trash Talk.
Hey man, look, just innovating, just trying to mix it up a little bit. We got a really good week ahead of us, and look, I'm looking forward to Diccon. First of all, how are you doing, my brother?
Doing very good. How are you, Josh?
Well, I'm looking forward to the film room, of course. But look, coming up on the show, we finally have Dee Bost of Galatasaray. We will be meeting with Dee Bost. We'll be talking about Galatasaray, 2 back-to-back games against Hapoel Nef. But first of all, let's have a little bit of BCL news. Igor, what did you make of this week's games?
It was a crazy week. A lot of games, kind of reminded me of season 1, where we had like 20 games per week with 5 groups and everything. But I like the chaos. I like the all-roundness of everything because it keeps my mind busy. I really enjoyed a game that you probably, guys, it kind of probably flew under your radar because it was Dijon against Ludwigsburg. And it was just another reminder, like, Diccon, you can talk about this, but how tough is Ludwigsburg? I mean, that defense is suffocating. So, I mean, it just felt like they were playing 5-on-6 the entire game for Dijon.
You know what about that game as well? I watched it and I really enjoyed it as well. 2 things stood out for me in that game. One is Ludwigsburg is small ball, right? They play sometimes Justin Simon even at the 5, right? It's small ball, but you look at Dijon's bigs and nobody had a game. Like, was it Gavin Ware had 4 points, Alinge none, Loom none, nobody had anything. It's like they take you away from every advantage you can have against them. It's so tough, and it's like you could see the frustration with Nenad Markovic trying to coach against that.
I was just about to say, like, he had a game plan, but we never were able to see it. And he was so frustrated at every single time out because it felt like every player from Dijon's side, like, everybody wanted to do a little bit too much. And that's exactly what Ludwigsburg likes. Like, they want you to overthink stuff. They want you to have that extra dribble. They want you to have that lazy pass. And this was just a statement win. Like, everybody talked about Dijon and David Holston being the MVP of the month in February. We talked about Galatasaray, about Holon, but keep an eye on Ludwigsburg. Like, this group is going to be crazy close. And Ludwigsburg and their points difference, that could play a huge role in advancing to the quarterfinals.
Yeah, absolutely. We looked at that group and thought that could end up a mess, but of that group, you'd have to say Ludwigsburg is in a good spot right now.
Well, we'll come back to that group in just one moment. First of all, again, a team that we didn't talk about enough in the preseason, back to winning ways. They've won the last 2 games now here in the round of 16. Baxi, Man, Rutsa. Again, are we surprised?
No, not really. You know, like the thing with teams like that is because there's so much hype, there's so much excitement, and they obviously play in such an emotional way. Sometimes you think, are they going to run out of steam? But then they come out of the international break and it's even more fired up and even more intense. You know, they scored 108 points, which is the highest points total for the season. Everybody contributing. I think they shot 43% from 3. Just utterly dominant, you know, dominant.
Sure, okay, they had back-to-back games of triple-digit scoring, but at the same time, like, they played against Treviso, and even Treviso's coach, Massimiliano Menetti, said, like, Treviso are not in a good phase right now. Like, they're not even close to that team they were in September, because their season started in September, not only with the qualifiers, but also with the Italian Super Cup and everything. I mean, it's just exhausting. By the time you get to March, you're drained completely. Like, it's not that, like, they have 20 players they can rotate. They have their core 8 players that they use, and it was just, they tried to run with Mandresa. They had a decent first quarter, but in fact, like, 3 quarters were decent, but the second quarter was -21 for Treviso. So win looked even more convincing for Manresa, but I'm still the most impressive part about Manresa and their week was Joe Thomason's kid in the press conference. Most definitely.
I mean, that's that moment, right? That's your character moment arriving, right? Before we move on from that, we have to talk a little bit about Giordano Bortolani, right? Like in the two games against Manresa, this guy's pretty good, right?
Oh, this guy's awesome, and Coach Minetti spoke about him after the game, and he was like full of praise, saying that this is a long-term project, not for Treviso, but for Italian basketball, because having a guy this good at his age, I mean, this is huge, because he's not just a shooter. He can drive, he can dunk, he's athletic, he knows, and he's got, like, you have to be a little bit arrogant if you want to be an elite athlete, and he is. Like, he's got that spark to him, and I really enjoyed watching him play.
100%. And the thing about shooters, they get better with age. And this guy's already having a 50, 40, 90 season on a decent number of attempts as well.
How, if they get better by age, how come you're not a good shooter still?
You had to go there, didn't you? You just had to. You had to do that, didn't you?
I'm not a shooter. That's why.
He's a rebounder.
Sure.
A screener.
Yeah.
Screeners
like
get better with age as well, because we get
just like
wider.
I'm a passer.
We get wider and we get better. Good screening,
Oh my God, this is too much.
Trash Talk now moves over to Transylvania. Let's talk about the relegation team of the season, UBT Cluj-Napoca. I don't think there's any basketball fan right now in Europe that doesn't gravitate towards this team. You see how close they are. You got to love their post-game celebrations. You got to love the personnel on their team. But again, I actually fully expected them to beat Malaga at home. Malaga had other plans.
It was just unlucky for Cluj because the rules and regulations stated that if a team doesn't finish a phase of competition, then all the results are nullified. And with that, Cluj lost their win against Prometei, but not only that, but Unicaja and Ostend lost their defeats to Prometei. So basically, it's a whole new group, and there's even a possibility of a three-way tie at 2-2. And this was just a huge opportunity for Malaga, and they took full advantage. New guy in the league. I mean, I can only thank God or whoever sent Cameron Oliver to Unicaja, because this dude is a beast. He's strong. He shot the ball extremely well. And when Cluj were about to make that one final run to kind of catch up with Malaga and be there for the closing minutes, he had a 3+1 play, which basically killed the game. And I mean, he said, like, he's a trash talker himself. And he said, like, coach warned me Cluj are unbeaten in their arena, and they prepared me like Cluj are gonna be tough in their arena. And when he made that shot, he turned to Cluj's bench and he said to their coaches, "Unbeaten no more."
So there's our next guest for the show, huh?
Oh, 100%. We need trash talkers, that's for sure. But look, guys, I'm going to ask you a question. If there was a 3-point shootout in the Basketball Champions League, the winner for me is going to be Dee Bost. If there was a dunk competition in the Basketball Champions League, then it has to go to Hulon's Mr. Kaiser. The lobs that this guy was catching. I mean, we saw it last season when he was playing for Vef Riga. But Kaiser, like, I think he can accumulate 3 stats in, like, one play almost. A rebound, a block, a rebound. I mean, what did you make of those 2 games? The first one Tuesday being in Israel, the second one being in Istanbul. Those were phenomenal basketball games.
Can we have a 7-game series, please?
Oh, 100%.
That's what I'm thinking.
100%. I think we should just, at the end of the season, even summertime, Hulon versus Galatasaray, 7-game series.
Simply for the sake of it, yeah. Why not? Especially with the fans. The fans, I mean, both games were really loud to see. And I feel like both teams must feel a bit sad about the way the games went, because, okay, so Holland won the first game by 9 points. The second game, Galatasaray probably feel disappointed that they let the 20-point lead slip out of their hands. But at the same time, Holon probably aren't so happy that they lost the game because it was there. It was there for the taking, and they could have swept Galatasaray and basically eliminated them already. So both teams must feel like bittersweet after a 1-1 week.
Can I just say the most interesting yet irritating moment of that game was I love David Kravish. Okay, I don't think you find a 4/5 who just works so hard. And usually I always say this guy has a high basketball IQ. However, the final play Hulam made before going for that 3-point tie, we had Tyrese McGee, I believe, on the ball, or it could have been Adam Smith. I can't remember right now off by heart. But they were just going to what was killing the confidence of Galatasaray. Getting to the key. Igor, you're nodding your head. You know where I'm going. Throw the love to Mikal Kaiser because nothing else was working. And every time Kaiser just dunked the ball, it wasn't enough just to dunk it. He wanted to rip it right down in front of those Galatasaray fans and say to them in Turkish, "İyi geceler, good night." But David Kravish, the fingertips of the basketball Champions League, makes the beautiful
fingertips
touch
of the basketball Champions League. Wow.
Yes.
That's his new title, I think.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. Well, one sec. For then Galatasaray have the ball. 1 second difference between game clock and shot clock. David Kravish shoots the ball with 8 seconds left and then gives Hulan a chance to have one more possession.
The best
David
player
Kravish,
of the season.
what were
to
you
the
thinking?
Worst. The best
I
to
was
the
just
worst.
about to say,
Almost hero to zero, if you think.
I was about to say, like, are you praising the man? I mean, this was one of the weirdest shots that we've had, and at the same time, why on earth would Kaiser speak Turkish?
Why not? He's in Turkey.
Because
He must have sat on the airplane thinking like, hey, how do you say goodbye in Turkish?
yeah, he probably tattooed it somewhere so he can dunk and go like, ah, with whatever you said, dude.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what. Why don't I go ask this question to Dee Bost? I'm going to go meet Dee Bost right now for the main event. I think it's about time we had Galatasaray here on the BCL Trash Talk podcast. I'm going to go meet with Dee Bost. I'll be back. Well, welcome to the BCL Trash Talk podcast, the main event. I'm here with Galatasaray superstar Dee Bost. Dee, how are you doing, my brother?
Doing good. How you doing?
Very well, very well. I mean, it's been a big week, of course. You had 2 back-to-back games against Apoel Holon. Yo, let's talk about those games. I mean, it's unlikely you see these back-to-back games, but let's go to the first game. 15 three-pointers made for you guys. You're unbelievable. But, come up short, and then you bounce back with a big victory. What was the message going into the second game on Thursday at home?
Well, we knew that to give ourselves a chance to even try to survive the group, we had to win the second game. We wanted to win the first one, but even to give ourselves a chance, we had to come out and win the game.
Of course, one thing I've noticed with you guys are probably the best three-point shooting team right now in the Basketball Champions League. I mean, is that the game plan going in to see how many good looks you get from the perimeter? I mean, you had 7 on the night on Tuesday in Israel, Devon Kumpasel. I mean, is that your guys' philosophy on offense?
Well, offensively, we want to play fast, and I think us playing fast leads to us shooting a lot of threes, and that's our style. So if we making threes, I think we can, be in the game with anybody. I feel like that's really our style when we, start shooting a lot of threes.
Now, if you go Tuesday night, of course, the Hulan fans were amazing. But then you return on Thursday. You expect that from Galatasaray. This is your first season with them in Istanbul. What are those Galatasaray fans like? What is it like to play in front of them?
Oh, yeah, Holon fans is really good, Then, we return home. The Gala fans are, something different, especially when they come to the games and they support us, We didn't have many as we expected because of the snow, they had a storm watch, but the ones that came, they were great. The Gala fans are amazing, especially when it's loud and it's rocking in the gym. I feel like they are really amazing.
It's a big season for Galatasaray. They joined the Basketball Champions League last year. It was a bit of a rocky season for them But you brought in some big reinforcements this year. Yourself, Devon Akumpasel, Melo Trimble, David Kravish. Let's start to talk about your teammates. The first one I want to talk about is Kerry Blackshear. I mean, this guy is just tough as nails. He can play inside. He can play outside. What's it like having a teammate such as him?
Yeah, actually having him, he helps us a lot. You know, great guy on the court and off the court. You know, I think he's the big part of our team. You know, the X factor, because people don't really probably talk about him as much. But you see, without him against Dijon, we was in a bad position, even though we came fresh off COVID. But when he returned, you know, we feed him the ball, we force feed him the ball, and he makes things happen for us.
And of course, another player that everybody wants to talk about right now, Devon Akumpasel. I mean, this guy, he started his pro career in Denmark with the Back and Bears, and then he goes to the NBA. I mean, you're talking about one of the greatest players in the Basketball Champions League right now. Again, what's it like having him as a teammate?
For him, he's a very exciting player to watch and play with. He's explosive, so you never know. He might have 0 points, and 2 minutes later he got 12 to 15 points, and then you look up like, darn, he finished with 30 points. So for him, he's very explosive. He's a great talent. He's still learning. You know, he's played in the NBA. He's still learning his way, figuring it out through this European, style of basketball, and to play with his coach's system. But I feel like coach gives him a lot of freedom to, just be himself. So with that being said, he's showing what he's capable of, and he's exploding. He's tearing the Champions League up this year.
Now, the one thing I like in teams is combos. And you guys have a really good combo in the backcourt. Yourself and Melo Trimble. I mean, what's the kind of the style that you guys have going together? I mean, how do you guys approach in practice? I mean, what is that partnership that you guys have?
I feel like, me being older, and I know I play with other good players and other players that can score, and players that, like the ball. So I feel like me knowing him well, figuring him out, and him figuring me out, I feel like we play really well together. He's a very explosive scorer also. So with us playing together, I feel like that's, it just gives us an advantage. Two ball handlers, two guys that can create. And when he's on, as I say, like that, he can go for 30 any night also.
Okay, look, you guys start off the round of 16, 2 very tough games. First is against Dijon, and then, of course, a loss against Hulan, but you bounce back. It's a very big win for you guys. Your next opponent, MHP Riesen Ludwigsburg. 2 big players you'll be going up in that game against, Justin Simon and, of course, Jonah Radaba. What do you guys have to do to pick up these big victories against? Because you got to play MHP Riesen Ludwigsburg twice. What do you guys have to do as a team to defeat them?
Honestly, we need to be ourselves. Play our style. We know what to expect from them. I've played against them in the past years ago, and I know same coach, same style. So we just got to be ourselves, protect the ball, less turnovers. And, those 2 players, we just got to keep an eye on them. We got to match their energy. I feel like if we ourselves, we control how we are, then I feel like, we can be in the game with anybody. We just got to control the ball.
That first game you guys played against JDR Dijon was probably one of the most exciting games I've seen this season. It was just back and forth. I think it was a free throw. They got an offensive rebound. David Holston's probably one of the best backcourt players. But again, what was the feeling like at the end of that game when you lost to them? And how much motivation is that for you guys as a team to when you have to play them away?
The feeling when we lost to them, it was just, we know we was fresh off COVID, no excuses, but we didn't have Kerry. He still was battling symptoms for at least 2 weeks after that. But, the feeling was bad. Like, we had a terrible feeling in our stomach. We gave the game up. We made mental mistakes. But playing against Holston, me and him had a lot of battles in the previous years when I was in France. So I know what to expect from him night in and night out. So, it's no surprise. But going into that game, we just got to take care of the first one because we got a road trip. But we just got to go in there. We got to try to fight to get both of these games. We need them. We're in a must-win position. So if we can put it together and stay focused, I feel like we'll put ourselves in great position.
Again, talk about the experience you had against David Holston. You have played in the Basketball Champions League before, and you made it to a final before in the very first season. what kind of experience do you feel that you have to give to this team, or what do you have to give on the court to make sure that Galatasaray gets to a final this year?
Man, it's you got to put the work in. And you got to, the team. Like I gotta give them as much knowledge as I can, because I feel like with our team, we have a very, very young team. I'm the oldest guy on the team, and so I just gotta try to tell them like what it takes. Because if you look at it, we gotta win on the road to be in position to even get to anywhere in the next round or whatever. You gotta win games on the road, and we gotta start somewhere. So that's the main thing, like trying to win on the road.
Now, you guys are probably the best three-point shooting team in the basketball champs league. You average about 12 three-pointers a game. When I hear the name Dee Bost, I think this guy can pull up for any shot on the court. And you do it in transition. You do it off screens. You catch and shoot. What is your mindset when you go into a game? Is it just, I need to find a little bit of space and that's it, I'm going to let it go? And once you make 1-3, how does the confidence work? Because I watched you against Hulan the other night, and I'm thinking, like, this guy has no limits. But I want to know what goes into the mind of Dee Bost going into these games.
Honestly, to tell you the truth, when I step on the court, I feel like if I get any ounce of space, if they go under, I feel like I'm gonna shoot. Honestly, I'm gonna shoot any shot, not in a bad way, but if I feel like it's my shot or if it's anywhere in my range, I'm gonna shoot any shot. Like, it's like my mentality. Like, I feel like I can take any shot and make any shot. But me being a point guard, I gotta sometimes balance it out. Playing with other scorers. So I just got that mindset that when I step on the court, if they give me any space, any light, I can see the rim, it's going to go up.
Okay, let's turn this conversation now to the left, of course, because, we've talked about Galatasaray. We talked about your teammates. Let's talk about life in Istanbul. Let's talk about life within the team. What is the go-to meal for Dee Bost in Istanbul after practice or after games? You're in a restaurant right now, but please tell me Dee Bost is embracing himself in Turkish cuisine.
Honestly, to be honest with you, I haven't had any kebabs all year, probably, I don't think. But I love the rice here. Like, the rice here is the best I probably had in the world. Like, the rice to me is the rice. I've had the meatballs, of course, so I eat that sometimes. But the rice to me is the best in the world that I've had so far. So I go to the rice, and then if they got the meatballs that's good, I'll eat the meatballs. But honestly, the rice for me is the best.
Of course, being in Istanbul for such a short time, have you been able to pick up any of the Turkish language?
Yeah, man. I pick up some of it. Majority of the bad words, my teammates saying the words and teaching me the words. But I can speak something like the hello, merhaba, nasılsınız, like how are you? Like simple words I picked up on.
Okay, now just a couple of things on your teammates, of course, because I look at you guys and I see a very talented group of players, as I mentioned. But, the fans want to know what happens at practice. Who on your team talks the most trash in practice? Who walks into practice with the mindset of nobody can beat me, of course? And who lets everybody know?
It's going to be either Dap. It's probably Dap. You feel like nobody can beat him one-on-one. Nobody can guard him. Me, I talk my trash, just depending on how mad I am. But when I'm around my teammates, I try to keep the chemistry, making everybody laugh, smile, and stay together. But he's probably the one that nobody can beat me one-on-one. You can't guard me. Just like joking around him and Sadiq all the time.
Okay, now, who is the player? And I'm going to take a guess here because when I watch him play on the court, I see him as a warrior. Karbacha, the big fella, right? He looks like every time he's on the floor, he just gives 110%. But is he the kind of player that throws the most tantrums in practice when things don't go his way or call doesn't go his way? Because he does give off that feeling a little bit, but that's nothing against him as a player. He is a fantastic player, but he looks like just a perfectionist or an absolute warrior.
Nah, he is that type of guy. He wants to always make the shot, always make the right play. If he don't, he's angry at himself all the time. And I tell him, you can't keep getting mad at yourself so much because it stops you from being who you are. Being great. But he works hard. He wants to do everything the right way because he's talented and he's energetic.
Dee Bost, I want to say, first of all, man, it's been an absolute pleasure to watch you take on the court with Galatasaray. You guys are a fun team to watch. Looks like right now you're ready to have some lunch in the restaurant after practice. We want to wish you all the best of luck, my brother.
All right, thank you, man. Thank you for having me.
Stay safe. Stay safe. Well, that was Dee Bost, of course. And again, what a privilege it was to have a Galatasaray player, especially a player like Dee Bost here on the BCL Trash Talk podcast. Well, now we're going to head to the film room. And again, film room, it's all about tactics. But, speaking of tactics, I think we had something special from Coach Lassie Tuabi this week, did we not, Diccon?
We certainly did. We had a feature called Mic'd Up. I can't remember this happening with a coach before. I certainly can't think of it in Europe before, like a coach being willing to be mic'd up for an entire game, not segments of a game or, now is a safe time to speak and say some fun stuff for the fans. An entire game, like lay it all out in the open and really give people some insight. You have to give a massive shout to Chloe and the guys for the way they made it. And it was a really, really insightful piece of content. I don't know if you saw it. Did you see it, Igor?
Yeah, of course I saw it. I mean, I saw the rough part, the rough cut, and then I saw the final cut. So basically it was just Chloe did an amazing job and Coach Tuobi also did an amazing job. You can see every single bit why players love him. Like, everybody loves playing for him, why he's the next big thing in European coaching. And at the same time, you see all the emotional roller coasters that he has to go through because they were down by 10,000 points. Then they made a run. Then they had a 1-point lead. And then the game-winning shot happened right in front of him. So basically, like, this is it was tense for me to watch it. I can only imagine what went on in his mind, and his heartbeat probably was at 200. So this is just a beautiful segment that we added, and I fully recommend to everybody to go to our social media accounts and watch it.
I have to say one more thing on top of that. I agree with all of that, and as a coaching nerd, like when you have some coaches that talk the talk, but do they actually walk it? And you watch, I did an interview with Lassie early in the season. He says he likes to give his players a bit of freedom and he wants them to learn through situations in the game. And you can see it's not just talk. He'll tell Howard, right? You need to go and get me 15 points. I don't care if it's a little bit selfish now. Go and do it. And in the last possession of the game, I know they lost. I know they didn't win, but you'll not find many coaches quiet in the last possession, letting players figure it out. And it's a bad example maybe because they lost, but it just shows you that he's willing to let them make the play happen in the very most important point.
The irony of them losing, though, is the fact that they have actually won the head-to-head without some of their star players playing that game. That's the funny part about this. Well, it's not funny because I've got so much respect for Ritas Vilnius. I mean, a great fan base, but they're up by 20 points, and they blew that 20-point lead. And when John Robertson's not play, you'd expect Ritas to win a head-to-head with all they had to do was win by 4 points. So, Dogus Gierjunas, great 3-point shot. You can see the players happy, but it's still a mountain to climb. They've got to win their final 2 games, and they got to hope now that either Strasbourg or Lenovo Tenerife drop a game. It's pretty tough.
It's not gonna be easy. Is it time now to watch some movies?
Well, I've got my popcorn ready, so Dick, lay the film room on us. Come on, we're having too much fun right now.
Okay. Shit, am I going to screen share this?
No, don't need to. I've got it right here. If you screen share, it's really hard for me to edit it. So just play off it and just speak.
So I'll talk whilst it's playing, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, and then you'll go.
When you say go, that's when I play, and that's when I know how to sync it.
And I'll tell you when I'm going to pause it, just so. Okay. All right. So I'll starting from now. Let's go. Okay. So we spoke a little earlier about Manresa and that 108-point game. We film room is going back to Pedro Martinez. Another timeout, very similar play to what we saw earlier in the season. If we hit play on the film right now, and then we'll talk through afterwards.
Rafa, saca tú, ¿vale? Saca tú. Vamos a ir muy rápido, el side, ¿ok? El side, ¿ok? Sí. You make this, Chima, set this speed for one, ¿vale? Sí. Tienes que venir rápido aquí, ¿ok? One, y Rafa para tirar. Ghost screen, ¿ok? Juan para adentro, ¿vale? Sí. ¿Vale? Preparado para tirar, ¿vale? Para pasársela a Rafa, ¿vale? Si no puedes meter una base.
So if we just hit pause there before we go into the actual play, the timeout's in Spanish, so there's no subtitles, but roughly translated, he's telling Rafa Martinez to inbound the ball. I don't really think Muy Rapido needs translating, but if it does, he's very clearly talking about how quick and how they need to sprint into the set. The ball's going to go to Jean-Pierre Vaulet, and he's talking about ghost screens, right? We've spoke about ghost screens earlier in the season, but the thing that makes Pedro Martinez so interesting in timeouts is that so consistently will he tell his team exactly what shots they're going to get, and he's telling them, we're going to go screen and we're going to go and attack the inside. We get into the rim. And the other little nugget you notice in there is the assistant coach chiming in and saying, even if it's a zone, we're going to do the same thing. All right, and it tells you how well prepared they are for their opponents. So if we hit play again, all right, exactly as you said it, the ball's inbound from Martinez and just sprint into the play, zipper screen, not even a go screen, just run straight off it and they get straight to the rim. All right, and that is just a trademark from Manresa. Just a little extra to this. We're going to hit pause on this graphic here. I wrote a column piece earlier in the season about the best pick and roll playmakers, and Joe Thomason came back at us and he said this. If we pause again, do I need to post the videos? We love it when players talk back at us. We love to hear them trash talking and come back at us. So we've got to give a shout to Joe Thomason on this one. So he didn't make the article, but he against Treviso, only from pick and roll play, only from the pick and roll, he had 24 points, either off his hand as a scorer or as an assister. And if you actually look at the data, as a scorer in the pick and roll, only DeAndre Lansdowne scores at a better rate, scoring 1.3.5% points per possession as a scorer in the pick and roll, and he's top 5 as creators in terms of efficiency as well. So, Joe, you didn't make the graphic in the article because of volume, but in terms of efficiency, you're having yourself a great season. So keep it going, and let's bring the kid back into the press conference as often as we can.
Actually, I mean, we did this to Manresa a bunch of times, both you and I, Diccon, that we kind of underestimated them in power rankings and columns and everything. But I actually had Joe as one of the best one-on-one players just by feel, because the numbers weren't there. Like Silvan Francisco takes a lot more isolation plays, but the feel is like whenever Manresa need to get something going, they're gonna give the ball to Joe Thomason and he's gonna figure it out, like ISO Joe BCL style.
Absolutely. Guys, having an incredible season. It's hard to pick between him and Francisco who's your breakout player from that team.
You know what's interesting? You seldom actually see them on the court together that often. Usually they're coming on for each other, of course. And I'm actually wondering, is that a good thing for them, or is it a case where you put them on the floor in the big games? I don't know, of course. But look, Dick, and I want to say, as usual, the film room, fantastic job. I absolutely love this. Me personally, I'm learning lots and lots, and that's saying a lot, of course, because I don't learn very well at all, of course. But look,
are you learning Spanish? Like, is muy rápido going to be a part of your lingo when you're calling the games?
I don't need to learn Spanish. I speak it already. Thank you very much.
Oh my!
I'll learn Croatian, and that will tease you, and that will wind you up very much, and you'll be very annoyed at that point.
No, just please go buenas noches or whatever you do when it's game over. So we're done with the podcast for the week.
Well, in that case, ladies and gentlemen, it is officially İyi geceler. Good night in Turkish. We'll see you next week for the BCL Trash Talk podcast.